Her son caught her cheating, showed her the objected pictures. Then she started weeping and left the home forever. My name is John. I'm a 54-year-old industrial electrician. Most of the time, my job is to quickly diagnose and fix problems with production machines and, in some cases, replace electric motors. I have been involved in this work for almost 30 years. I'm not currently attending university, but I did take some classes at a technical college. 99% of my education came from on-the-job lessons from a man who is now unlearned even more. But if Darla and I hadn't gotten divorced this year, I wouldn't have gotten married. By our 30th anniversary, we would have had 4 adult children, 3 sons, and 1 child. Darla went back to school 18 years ago. She worked about 20 hours a week. I had to carry most of her stuff, but she still managed. I was so proud to see Darla earn her law degree in 5 years. Darla worked at a large law firm, and in her early years she completed extensive court training. All was well, and we took out some loans with Darla and were mostly paying them off over time with some of her bonuses. She noticed that Darla came home late, and then she started asking what happened. Our young daughter was about 16 years old when this happened. My 2 oldest sons were away. One went to college in Mississippi and the other was in the Marines every night. So my son worked nights, so it was my daughter and I who ate dinner. It was just that. I also noticed that Darla wasn't interested in her bedroom and she was really aloof. Her daughter noticed and called all her siblings to find out why her mother was not at her house. My son, who was in the Marines, came home on leave. He stayed at home for almost 2 days until he noticed the photos his mother frequently going to hotels and getting into another man's car. I remember standing at the work table working the engine controller, and he started arguing violently about his mother. I knew my marriage was over. The next day, my son returned to Mississippi. All 4 of my kids were waiting for their mom to come home, and when her mom got home, they jumped on her mom. Her son showed her pictures of her and started inquiries from her what is going on. Darla started crying and left the house, but the children followed her and called her various names. I asked his son to go back to school. After my son's vacation, we returned to North Carolina. Darla never called me or her kids her name, but when I came home her daughter said that her bitch had packed her things and left. He told me he was gone. I went to her daughter, held her head in her hands, stroked her hair, and asked her not to use that word to describe her Darla. She assured me that her daughter didn't want to do that. I went to the Capitol, found a divorce lawyer, told him everything, and also showed him the photos taken by my son. I spoke to all 4, and all 4 said they would testify about her mother. The attorney said she wanted to know who Darla's AP was because she wanted Darla to appear at the hearing. When I asked her why, she said Darla was a lawyer, and her office would circle her around in the wagon. He wants her AP on her record. He told me to spend a few hours with her daughter and come back in 3 hours. He said he could prepare to file for divorce, but she didn't want to file until she learned more about Darla's AP. When her daughter and I got home, we noticed Darla's car in the driveway. She said, "Dad, let's go somewhere until you get home." She thought I had to drive because her daughter was so upset. When I opened the door, Darla was still there, sitting in the living room. She wanted to know what Darla could do to help her family heal. At this point, she was crying. I told Darla correctly, "Now all 4 of your babies hate the floor you walk on. How could I be stupid enough to do that if I'm not happy with our marriage? Divorce." She couldn't answer, and once again she begged me to let her out. I just told her that when you get back, the kids will go too. That was the last contact I had with Darla for almost a month. At this point, my attorney had identified Dallas AP as one of the company's marriage partners, and her boss, my attorney, had filed divorce papers at the time. But on the day of the hearing, when the decision was made, he also asked her to appear in AP, in front of his wife at his home. The lawyer heard that he told the lawyer that his wife was standing behind him and interacting with him. This lawyer tried to suppress his subpoena several times, but the judge said no. He even tried to suppress the subpoena by saying he would be Darla's attorney, and the judge said okay. I answered, but the information was, "I have confirmed the subpoena requiring your testimony to be heard." The closer the hearing date got, the more panicked both of them became. One weekend, I got a call from an AP's wife who wanted to see both her photos and the photos of her husband going to the hotel, so she came to my house and gave me some tea that her daughter had made, and I gave her all the copies. On the day of the hearing, all 4 of my children came to court with the attorney and me. Before the hearing began, The AP's wife was seen coming in and sitting behind her. I would like to say that the judge had a field day with Darla, but he didn't, because as soon as the judge called to order a hearing, Darla's lawyer told me that Darla didn't want a trial. This is because he stated that there was no dispute. Even after we divorced, my family didn't want me to retire, they didn't want custody of her daughter, and they didn't ask for help. My lawyer stood up and said she wanted $250 a month until her daughter turned 18. The judge looked at Darla, she nodded, gave her terms, and we all went out to lunch, with the AP's wife sitting nearby as well. AP's wife is about the same age as me, and her daughters are already grown and married. Her divorce was put on hold about a month later. Same judge was hearing both cases, the judge who presided over our divorce. Because AP's wife is a stay-at-home mom, she got a house, took half of her pension, and gave up $1,500 a month in child support. She can't remember how. It's been a long time, but it's been a long time since my AP wife and I spent time together. All of our children are friends with each other. She and I were forced by a partner vote to never marry her husband again, and he went to another law firm as a full partner, but he left there with bitter feelings, and now she's married to him. The day we broke up, he told me he was getting divorced. He remarried and found a better, younger wife. His daughter said she was doing well. He did just that, but about 3 years later his young wife left him. AP's wife is happy and playing with her grandchildren. I play with me, but my sons do not talk to Darla to this day. She was not allowed to be present when her grandchild was born and was told that she would be arrested if she attended the wedding. Her daughter checks in from time to time, but they are not as close as her mother and daughter. I'm sorry this happened, but my children are adults and are making their own decisions after the divorce. Darla moved to Florida and is now a full partner at a Tampa area law firm. She's doing well financially, but last I heard, Darla lives in a house worth a lot of money and she moved back here a few years ago. Please stay with her until her daughter recovers from childbirth. I was sitting at a local restaurant when Darla came in and she asked if she could sit down. I waved her hand for her to sit and she ordered coffee and asked about our sons. And we talked for maybe 20 minutes and she took my hand and said, "John, I did something really bad. You know, when I started cheating on you, I think I fell in love with you, John. That was a terrible mistake. I know that I told Darla that I was the same man who married her, and that she was the one who changed me then, and that I still remember her graduating from law school. I'm proud of that." Darla started crying a little. I said the Associated Press told me I was a loser for keeping her. Then she dropped $5 on the table, stood up, and as she walked away said, "John, you're not a loser here." As I watched Darla walk away, I started thinking about how easy it is to listen to toxic people, because they only end up hurting you.